In the UK's often cold and damp climate, reliable heating and home insulation is essential for both comfort and well-being. In today's programme, Executive TV highlights pioneering companies providing heating and insulation, explores the challenges they face, and what roles these innovations play in shaping a sustainable UK.
Vital Energy is a market-leading district heating specialist and energy practitioner. We see ourselves playing a fundamental role in supporting organisations and institutions and individuals in their transition to net zero, being able to map their journey, deliver services and products that implement carbon reduction, and then providing services that operate and maintain those installations for the long term with high efficiency, high performance and minimal disruption. The Pipes project is a vital part of the UK's journey to net zero, as it's using waste heat that would otherwise be blown into the atmosphere, and that waste heat is replacing fossil fuels which are creating carbon and adding to the UK's pollution. So the Leeds Pipes project cuts through what is considered to be waste heat and avoids natural resources being used.
Ener-Vate was created 10 years ago by myself and my two colleagues, Steve Marsh and Steve Hunt. We created Ener-Vate because we wanted to create something different. Back then, District Heat Networks was very much utility-led, and we wanted to create something that actually fit the market and was different to what was already available, just with one size fits all. So Ener-Vate was created really to deliver district heat networks, which 10 years ago was actually using different technology to it is today. We were using CHP, which is combined heat and power units, which still ran on gas. But over the 10 years, we've seen a massive shift to the low carbon solutions that we see today. So Ener-Vate's ethos is different to that of a typical consultant or a utility provider. We fit with the client, we understand what the client's needs, we try and work with them to say what exactly they want, what do they think they want, how can we shape what they want, and we embed ourselves as part of that team and we become client side. So we're different to the typical consultants who are just doing a task. We actually like to be part of the team and deliver with that team.
So heat networks from one guise or another have been around in the UK since probably the 70s really, but more predominantly in the last 15 to 20 years they become more of an advanced technology which was dominated predominantly by the major utility companies, for which myself and my two colleagues who created Ener-Vate were an employee of and were advocates and promotions of district heat networks. Around 10 years ago we started to see some barriers in the industry, talking to clients in terms of what is it that's going to help accelerate and grow the technology of district heating. And some of that was around the commercial tensions and some of the barriers in which larger utility companies would actually foresee and actually put into place. So we saw an opportunity to say, is there an independent view, a voice that can actually sit on the client side and become an educator of the client, make them aware and actually bring innovation, commercial innovation in terms of how we can actually accelerate and grow district heat networks. And that was the birth of Ener-Vate really, the three of us leaving the major utility to create Ener-Vate over 10 years ago.
So because of the boom of conservatories in the late 80s and 90s, so many people started having problems with the temperature that you have in a conservatory being too hot or too cold, invariably both. So we saw a gap in the marketplace where the only options that other companies were offering was to basically take the whole roof off and put a new one on. The roof is absolutely fine, so there was no real need to do that. So we insulated. We wanted to look at a product that could insulate existing conservatories to deal with that temperature problem. The CRIS system is unique to us. We are genuinely the only supplier of it in the whole of the UK. So the science behind the CRIS system is based loosely upon the NASA technology that they use on the International Space Station, for instance, where the temperature range is vast. So we've brought that down to the temperature range that we have here on Earth, and we've taken a number of layers which has got a foil system on either side. So what that helps to do is reflect the heat in the summer back out of the conservatory, and the foil system on the inside of the conservatory, inside of the quilt, what that does is it reflects any radiated heat that's created or convected heat that's created within the conservatory itself.
Sustainable heat networks deliver warmth to homes through a series of connected pipes, supplying heat while minimising carbon emissions and reducing costs.
So Vital Energy are supplying heat through the Leeds Pipes district heating system. And that heat is then distributed to public and private sector buildings and residents across the City of Leeds. It takes waste heat from the energy recovery facility at Cross Green, and that waste heat is taken by using people's black bag rubbish that can't be recycled, and it's burnt, and as part of burning that waste we generate high temperature heat. That heat is in a condition of being a gas, and we extract from the gas steam. So as you pass water across the gas in a heat exchanger, the gas path creates steam. That steam is used to drive an electric turbine, and as part of driving the electric turbine we're able to take a small amount of that heat after it's been used for generating electricity to serve the district heating system. So the energy recovery facility is generating electricity and heat, and we then take that heat to distribute across the city. We take it from Cross Green on the far side of the city and bring it to Saxton Gardens, where there's a resilient energy centre. So that's another energy centre, such that if the energy facility is ever out of service or not available, we're able to continue to provide 100% resilient heat. And that heat is then distributed to public and private sector buildings and residents across the City of Leeds.
I think the future's bright for Leeds Pipes project. We've got an ambitious expansion programme. We've already connected to about 60 buildings in the city, with 4 new major customers signed up this year. We've secured a funding of 24.5 million for our major new expansion into South Bank. Given, I think, the hike in energy prices in recent years, I think the customers are lining up to sign up to the project. And I think we are quite fortunate in Leeds that there's a lot of new projects going up, which works very nicely in terms of our kind of expansion programme as well.
We chose to work with Vital Energy after quite a complex and long procurement process, where we assess all different tenderers against quality and price, and Vital Energy won that process. Vital Energy have delivered what they put in their original tender and bid, and have worked really closely with us to continue to develop the network and help us to grow.
Mersey Heat is a low-carbon heat network that has been developed in Liverpool waterfront. Ener-Vate have developed it from the very, very first beginning in the idea of feasibility on behalf of the Peel Group. Originally, it was designed to support a large redevelopment of the Liverpool waterside, which Peel were bringing forward, which was about 6,000 residential units and some commercial space. Since then, it's significantly grown into much more than that, and is connecting other non-Peel buildings, both residential and also commercial. The Titanic Hotel in Liverpool, the Tobacco Warehouse in Liverpool on the same area owned by Harcourt, as connecting to the heat network prior to the Liverpool Waters development being built out. It's a heat network that runs on a water source heat pump, which is delivering low carbon heat. The 3 megawatt water source heat pump can deliver up to 1,000 homes worth of heat and hot water. The heat network now is in construction and will be delivering heat by the end of the year from the water source heat pump. However, we're already delivering some heat to the residential units from a temporary supply.
Supplying heat to properties is important, but it also goes hand in hand with insulation. By improving insulation, heat network effectiveness is maximised, while simultaneously lowering energy bills further.
The benefits of the CRIS system is, the main benefit is it gets you the room back that you wanted in the first place. The reason why you bought the conservatory is to get the extra space for living, and now you can use that for any use that you may wish. The technology of it allows the heat that you would generate within the conservatory to stay in, so you can enjoy the comfort. The comfort is the main part, I think, that we need to get across. The energy costs are dramatically reduced. When we put our system in, it's proven to be 82% better U value in the roof of the conservatory. That's dramatic. That makes a massive difference.
Leeds Pipes has had a huge impact on the city. We've seen the benefits include improvement of air quality, and that impacts everyone in the city. We've engaged with local communities and schools. We've provided huge social value to generate jobs and spend project commitments within the local community. So what that means is as we procure materials and work to do the project, we spend that on companies based in the immediate area of Leeds. And that really adds, I suppose it adds real value to the project because the people of Leeds have been involved in the project's development. So being able to invest in the community through schools and our initiatives, being able to spend the project within the city and be able to create jobs have been three of the key benefits of the project.
Delivering low carbon heat at city centre scale is not without its challenges, but we've proved on this scheme and on many other schemes that it can be done. It takes a significant amount of planning and design to look at all of the waste heat generation sources and find where they may be able to be usable for delivering heat. In some city centres, such as Liverpool, there are a number of waste heat solutions. Mersey Heat runs on water source heat pump, but there's other opportunities elsewhere for air source heat pump, ground source heat pump, etc. In some scenarios, there's even other waste heat sources that are currently being tapped into, like mine water heating and also wastewater treatment plant heat as well.
So Energy House Labs at the University of Salford is a collection of different lab groups looking at building performance. So we have Energy House 1, which is about 13 years old. That's focused on retrofit. So that is a pre-1920s end terrace solid wall Victorian house built in a climatic chamber. So we constantly look at how we can improve the fabric of that building and also the heating system for the occupants. Beyond that, we built Energy House 2, which we're in today. So Energy House 2 is about 8 times the size of Energy House 1. It can go from -20 to +40 degrees, and we can simulate snow, wind, rain and solar radiation. So with all them variables, we can replicate about 95% of the populated world's weather conditions. So it's a globally unique facility. So what we do within these chambers is we can control the weather and we can subject houses to either steady state testing or dynamic patterns from around the world. So what that allows us to do is not only measure the building fabric or heating system performance more accurately than could be done in the field, but also a lot faster than what we could do typically in a field trial.
This is a project that was funded from Ener-Vate UK. It was in a project called the Future Homes Accelerator. So CI came to us, they looked around our chambers and they thought we can really put one of our installations through their paces here. And it's difficult to do that when we talk about testing out in the field because we've got people in there, we've got other obstacles such as the weather and things like that. What we can do here is impose the weather on the building and see how it performs. So they were interested to see how it performs in real world conditions but in a controlled way.
So in terms of sustainability, there's a big issue in the UK with the housing stock. We've got the oldest housing stock in Europe, and about 80% of the houses that will exist in 2050 are already built. So a key issue in the UK is retrofit. So there's two ways to go about that. There's the fabric element, so that's how do we insulate these homes so they use less energy and they're more comfortable for the occupants. And then there's also how do we heat them homes. So there's a transition from gas boilers to low carbon solutions such as air source heat pumps, infrared radiators and so on. But then there's also how do we insulate these homes in a safe manner and effective manner. So a lot of the research we do here at Energy House Labs is measuring these fabric components as they're installed on buildings. And because we've got control of the elements within these chambers, we can not only measure them faster, but we can also measure them more accurately than you would in the field. So we can look really in detail at what the performance of, say, external wall insulation is doing to an old solid brick wall building. Is there any negative implications of that if it's done incorrectly, such as condensation or mold growth? So it's important we do insulate and make this transition for the future of housing, but it's important that we do it correctly and safely.
Projects like Leeds Pipes are tackling the climate emergency brilliantly well. 18% of our greenhouse gas emissions in the UK come from the way we heat our 28 million homes. Most of that comes from burning natural gas. What Leeds Pipes is doing is taking locally occurring sources of waste heat from the local energy from waste plant and delivering it directly to the homes and buildings in the city. So to have the opportunity to provide the catalysing finance that make those schemes work are vitally important. We were able to support the first phase of the Leeds Pipe network back in 2018 and have since made 3 further investments, making a grant of something like £34 million across 4 phases of the city network.
Ener-Vate has a proposition called Connect. Connect is a brand name for a growing heat networks, if you like. So Ener-Vate have been developing heat networks now for 10 years as Ener-Vate, but another probably 10, 15 years on top of that under different names. What that means is that we help our clients not only set their heat network up, but we then can help them grow and get more and more customers, engage with stakeholders, help educate, if you like, some of the end users on some of the benefits of connection. And we've been very successful with this on a number of city centre projects where we have encouraged others to connect, both developers, residential, commercial users, whether they be new build or existing buildings, and help them understand the benefits of connection and the long-term growth of the network has been successful on the basis of that.
So the typical process from design to installation would be that we would have a fully qualified surveyor visit the property, go through with the client what they're looking to get from the product and how they're looking to use their room. The survey would typically take half an hour to 45 minutes, whereby we would look at the pitch of the roof, the quality of the existing roof, any leaks that might need attending to, which we would do so prior to the installation, and then a number of photos are taken, all to bring it to life to the people in the office who will look over all of that information again before we then book in for an installation date. The installation itself is quite straightforward. It takes 1 day, no more. People are always very surprised by that, but that's all our installers do. We are an insulation company, we don't build conservatories, so the guys would work until a finish. And the other thing is that the weather would never actually affect us, because no matter what's going on outside, all the work is done from the inside of the property.
So the expansion of Leeds pipes creates economies of scale, and working in partnership with Ener-Vate, we've been able to leverage new connections to Leeds pipes. So as the heat network grows, the heat network efficiency improves as we connect new customers with different load and demand patterns. Working with Ener-Vate, they provide proposals to our customers, which allows us to then map out how the heat load and connections will work across the system. We then use some very clever technology to model all of those scenarios, and then we use a product known as Cool Planet to observe how the system works as a whole. So continuing to grow the heat network is really key to its success. The heat demand across the city and the available heat are equally matched, and we're able to grow the system and allow future connections to other energy centres such that Leeds has multiple sources of heat to service the city.
So our Connect product is very much around heat network growth. We've got a lot of success with our products and services that we sell into a number of heat network operators. That is around how do we get more connections onto that network? How do we get low carbon heat spread out across a more dense area, across a more broad spread area of geography? That really comes down to education, and that comes down to communication and negotiations with end users essentially. So how do we actually convince an end user, be it a school, be it a hospital, be it Mrs. Jones who is actually in an apartment, or a landlord, how do we convince them that taking heat from a heat network is better than the alternative? The alternative not being a fossil fuel, the alternative being a low carbon product, whether it's an individual heat pump, whether it's air source or ground source heat pump. Why is connecting to the district heat network the best option? And that takes time to actually go through the whole process and the journey and understanding a like-for-like basis why it's best value. Heat networks are perceived by government, we absolutely endorse this, in the right location as being the lowest cost, lowest carbon option to actually achieve the carbon reduction commitments which the government have signed into, but equally as a consumer actually getting the right best value product as a heat product for yourself.
Businesses and people should both become more sustainable, and I think the way that business can help is to educate people. People are now more aware of carbon footprint, and by installing a product such as ours at the CI Group, we will help reduce the carbon footprint, we will help reduce energy bills. And yeah, I think from everyone's perspective, we all know what we should be doing. It's about actually doing it and taking action. I think when people talk about the government helping businesses become more sustainable, there's a lot of argument, a lot of debate about that. But from our section, I have to say that whichever government's in, they have no VAT applied. The decision was made to apply no VAT to insulation products, and renewable energy sources such as solar, and I think that's a massive help. I'm not saying that they couldn't look to do more. I think if there was some kind of funding, especially when you look at the conservatory industry, when you think that it is probably, well not probably, I would actually state that it's the least efficient room in anybody's home, and we can make such a dramatic difference that if they could help in any kind of way as a government and help more people do that, then there would be 5 million conservatories that would be more efficient, and that would have a massive impact on achieving the targets for 2050, for instance. So the vision for the future for the CI Group is to continually look to improve on the product if that's possible. That's why we worked with Salford University to ensure that we have done everything that we can do. But for the future, maybe as we're dealing with conservatories, for all that energy that's being generated that people don't want when it's too hot in the summer, it'd be nice to think that we potentially could come up with something like a conservatory roof that could take that energy, harness it and create a solar thermal system, for instance, and give the householder hot water. It seems such a shame just to get rid of what we could potentially use.
The Leeds Pipe project has an incredible outlook for the future. As one of the landmark district heating projects in the UK, it's hugely visible to governments. The City Council are hugely supportive, and the connections that we have provided heat to are all ambassadors of our heat network. That allows us to continue to support the project development through grants and, I suppose, loans in terms of being able to enhance the project going forward. Leeds has a huge master plan for district heating. The Leeds Pipes project is a small part of that today, but being able to deliver a project like Leeds Pipes to show what's possible and to deliver the benefits to the community, to the customers and to the City Council are really important and really provide the project with a great foundation for its growth.
The UK now are looking at ways that they can be independent in terms of energy security. One of the ways that we can do that is by utilising local resources of waste energy. And we need to move away from fossil fuels like gas, and using all electricity is a waste for heat and hot water when it can be used for so many other sources. It's therefore so important that we move towards the low carbon solutions and using the waste energy that is provided to us all over the UK. We are an island and we have plenty of water, we have wind, we have lots of things that we could be using to help with the decarbonising of the UK, and we just need to get better at using our own resources.
Through modernised infrastructure, improved insulation, and low-carbon heating solutions, companies are driving positive change that benefits both the environment and household budgets, paving the way for a sustainable future.